All right, Mustang Nation, the red light is on, which means we are recording, which means we gotta keep it together here. We're already laughing, but got another special guest in the studio today. I'm with my co-host Dusty Moniz, aka athletic director here at Monte Vista Christian School, aka former college hockey player and brawler. So yeah, Monte Vista brought in a guy who used to get in fights as part of his educational experience before coming here. Only place in the world you can, only venue you can get in a full-on street fight and not be taken to jail. So, but he does love God. He loves people. He loves students. He loves sports. He loves this place. He loves surfing. He loves California. That's my co-host. We got another person with us today, a special guest, also from out of the area. Won't give away too much yet on him. I always like to kind of intro these guests with a little bit of mystery. But when I think of this person, I think of three things. I think of integrity, character, and discipline. And I guess four things. I think of somebody who is a Jesus follower first and foremost, and a coach second. And when I hear people talk about this guy, all I hear is, man, that dude seems like a great dude. He seems like the real deal. And that's multiple times I've talked to people, they say that. He seems like the real deal. When I say discipline, I'm going to put a little bit of his eating habits on blast. We do a Bible study one day a week, and never orders coffee. Everybody else there is like drinking their coffee to get going. I don't even think he orders food. I think he lives on water. He usually orders a water. So we usually leave the restaurant after Bible study with only like a $20 tab, which means it's only like a $5 tip because it's like some waters and like one dude eats food. But we're going to let you know who this person is in a little bit. Let them tell their story. You definitely know who this person is. Him and his wife are on campus and loved by people here on campus. But first, we do want to say that the Mind of the Mustang podcast is growing. We've gone from 2 listeners the first episode, which was just me and Dusty listening to each other talk, to, I don't know, maybe 50 now, maybe like our wives and our friends and some students and administration. But you guys can actually find this podcast now on Spotify. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, I guess, Dusty. I don't know.
Spotify, Apple, YouTube.
Sweet. I don't even know where to find podcasts. I just talk in the mic. I don't even know where to find. I don't know how to do the behind the scenes stuff. The students are doing that for us. But yeah, so you guys can find this thing at other places now. And before we turn it over to our guest here and kind of like just get to know him, we do have some pretty cool people in the pipeline coming up, right?
Yeah, we'll just plug next week's, which is Eric Beckman, who's our head cross country coach, and he's fresh off number 10 in California for his cross country team. They went to state and got 10th place. So it's an amazing accomplishment for a school our size. They were 2 in CCS. So just historic season for them. So it'll be great to kind of pick his brain and talk to him about that season next week. So
it's awesome. It's cool. Yeah. So those of you listening, go check out the podcast at those places where you can listen. And we were just praying before we hit the record button that there would be something that the Lord would have for anybody listening to this podcast, whether it's one teeny nugget or whether the whole episode speaks to you, that God would use this time to be entertaining and to have fun and talk about sports and faith, but also that God would use whatever we're doing here to speak to somebody's heart right in the moment where they need to be spoken to, driving in their car, at work, wherever. It's like, dang, God sees me and God is reading my mail. So anyhow, this person, I want him to tell a story. He coached football overseas, played overseas, originally a native of Georgia, right? Lived in Mississippi for a while, Santa Barbara, coached, played there. We didn't know it till we kind of met each other here on campus that we have some mutual friends in common though over the years. Nick Johnson, the former strength and conditioning coach, being one of them. But yeah, before I share too much of your story, I want to welcome to the show football coach Spencer Ferrari.
Yeah, thanks. So much buildup. Sorry, I really got to deliver something here now.
I know, I'm trying to be.
That's becoming a trend on this show.
Seriously, like I said when I texted you, I said just be ready for us to ask you probing questions about every on-field decision you made today. Yeah. I mean, this year, coming from a guy who didn't play football or coach football. So, no, dude, but welcome to the show, and I feel like this is appropriate time to have you because the season just ended, and we get to hang out a bunch outside of here, but. No question off the bat. Why don't you how about this? No, why don't you tell everybody a little bit? You've been here 3 years now. People don't know your story. You and I have talked, but how about just tell people a little bit of your story coming to Monte Vista and how it has been being here so far?
Yeah. My story, it's definitely kind of long and winding. But the more I talk to people, the more I realize everyone's story is long and winding. Everyone's kind of path is unique. So mine's no different. But yeah, not from this area, not from California at all. To give you kind of a quick timeline on where I've been, I guess I was born in Orlando, Florida, moved to Mississippi when I was a kid, then St. Louis, Missouri. That's why I'm a Rams fan, because the Rams were in St. Louis when I was a kid and they won the Super Bowl, and that was a big deal. So I'm a diehard Rams fan. And then moved to Atlanta, Georgia, where my folks still live. Had the chance to play football in college, and then I played overseas in Europe, was in Poland, Austria. I came back, coached in Santa Barbara here for a season, went back to Germany, then to Belgium, where I was there for 5 years, met my wife, coached high school ball in Tennessee for a couple years before coming here. You won't be tested on all that.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the path. But yeah, we love being here. It's another world from Tennessee, where we came from. I feel like most people, every time I talk to the people about this, they're like, oh, most Californians are going to Tennessee, not Tennessee coming here, which kind of freaks me out a little bit. But,
Sure.
but yeah, no, we love being here. The weather's great. People are great. We really felt called to come here. I know that's the case for you, Dustin. Like when you came here, you're like, man, I feel like, I remember you telling me like you mourned leaving here the first time, and you kind of felt the call to come back. And that's what it was for us. It was just a call to come here. And so it's lived up to the hype, and we love being a part of this community.
It's cool. Well, I think I think most people probably are leaving California to go to Tennessee or moving east, but I would say most people are not you. And I think, honestly, a lot of people are led by worldly pull factors like cheaper house, I don't know, better pay, maybe not better, just better cost of living and blah, 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 politics, better political climate. But, I mean, I think you and me and Dusty are similar too. Like, we're missional people, and so like we're not called to find the most comfortable environment to live in, right? We're called to go where God calls us to go, and if that's smack dab in the middle of Babylon, then so be it, right? And so, and I think
not that Monte Vista is Babylon.
the Monte Vista is not. Monte Vista is like is Jerusalem surrounded by Babylon. Like I used to tell people, like they're like, "Oh, you live in Watsonville." I'm like, "No, I don't live in Watsonville. I live in Monte Vista." It's like this own little
it is. It's different
sanctuary within the Watsonville limits, Yeah. But one thing people don't know too, Spencer and I share a coolness factor. We both have international wives, right? Which just like it boosts our exotic appeal, right? So they make us cooler. I mean, they make us better regardless, but they make us cooler too.
Like we're not very cool, but having international wives makes us a little bit cooler.
Yeah. Somebody talks to your wife, they're like, she's got an accent, like where's she from? And they find out Spencer's wife is from Brazil. Natalia is from Brazil.
Yeah.
My wife's from the Netherlands, but they hear the accent and they're like, oh wow. And then they think that, for me at least, they think
now I'm cool.
Yeah, you're cool.
Yeah.
Well, they think we're cool, but really I tell people, no, I just was like, I couldn't find a woman anywhere on U.S. soil. So
no one wanted me here.
Nobody wanted me here. I had to start looking at another continent. Branch out. Like I struck out on this continent. So yeah, I had to go to Europe. But no, why don't you tell us a little bit about the coaching journey, what brought you over to Europe, like, and then tell me a little bit about what that was like meeting your wife and introducing her, a foreign woman to the American game of football. I remember you said something one time where she saw you coaching for the first time and what she told you when she kind of like saw that and stuff.
Yeah. So when I was in college, I had a friend who played in Europe. I didn't even know football was a thing in Europe, or I guess I knew like NFL Europe existed previously, but I didn't really know that you could go play and there were leagues and stuff. And so I kind of had a buddy that connected me, and I went and played in Poland. This is in 2014 or something. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And they were kind of like, oh yeah, everyone speaks English here, and football's a growing sport and all that. And I remember I got there and it was like no one spoke English. I was in a small town, and it was like, take this with a grain of salt. I always tell people, because it's like their NFL in Poland, but it's like the Polish NFL. So like whatever that really means. But it's a totally different experience because, I was like coaching guys while I'm playing with them, and you're not like coaching teenagers. You're coaching like a 27-year-old grown man who works a 9 to 5 and has 2 kids, but he like doesn't speak English and he doesn't know what like a slant is.
Crazy.
And you're like, it's totally different. But I fell in love with kind of being an ambassador for the sport. And it's kind of funny you mentioned the cool factor of our wives, because I think one thing that was cool was when I went to Poland and I was the only American on my team, I was such like an exotic creature to them because there weren't Americans around. And so people wanted to know not just what I had to say about football and what play we should do or whatever, but they're like, that kind of trickled over into other aspects of my life. And they're like, oh, so we want to know what the American thinks about like politics or the economy or religion. So I got to actually share my faith in a way where people actually were receptive. They wanted to hear what I had to say about my faith because it's like, oh, well, let's hear what this guy has to say. So that was really cool. And then kind of bounced around. I had some knee surgeries. I couldn't play football anymore. I always wanted to coach. So I coached in Austria. I'll shout out my teams. The Plock Mustangs was in Poland.
Nice. The Plock Mustangs.
No one from the Plock Mustangs will be listening to this. But I was a Mustang from the beginning. I'm still a Mustang here at Monte Vista.
That's crazy.
And went to the Corinthian Lions in Austria, which was an amazing experience. Went to Santa Barbara City College, where I played for a year of JUCO football. Went back to Germany, coached for the Munich Cowboys. A lot of great names in Europe, too.
That's crazy.
The team that won our league that year in Germany was the Schwäbisch Hall Unicorns. And they were some bad dudes. They were like, it was like a country like area. They were really, really good.
That's crazy. You better be with the name Unicorns, right?
Yeah,
That makes them even harder, right? People always make it fun. We got to destroy.
Yeah. And then I moved to Belgium, and I was the head coach of the Belgian national team for 5 years, which is a cool title, but such a minority niche sport, you know. And we're the Belgian Barbarians was our name, which is a pretty strong name for a football team, the Barbarians.
That's cool.
But that's where I met my wife, and I like to tell the story of how we kind of connected because when I was in Munich, Germany, and I was telling friends from church that I was going to Brussels, Belgium, one of my friends was like, "Oh, I have a church for you," and I was like, "Oh, wow," and she knew through some connection back home of an English-speaking church in Brussels, Belgium. So I went to this like young adults small group thing before going to an actual church service. And I remember it very clearly. It was Thursday, November 9th, 2017. I go to this small group, didn't know anyone there, obviously, and I sit down next to who would become my wife, Natalia.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where, you know, I knew from the moment I sat down next to her, I was like, I want to marry that woman. You know, didn't know anything about her, didn't know her name, didn't know where she's from, didn't know anything. It was one of those like feelings.
Yeah.
She did not feel the same way for a while. So it's not one of those like beautiful romantic love stories where like we both just like clicked and it was very one-sided. I was like really into her and she was not into me at all.
The exotic American appeal wasn't working.
Not working at that time.
Yeah.
No. But we became best friends. And so that's kind of how our relationship started. We just became like we were best friends, and then we obviously started dating. We got engaged and we got married over there right before COVID. So November 16th of 2019. So just before the world kind of shut down. And that was a great test for our marriage because within 5-6 months of our marriage, of our wedding, we went into like extreme quarantine in a small apartment, living together. And like, we were like tested, you know, It's like all of a sudden, like you can't leave the home. And it was another, probably like it was in California. I think it's probably a little bit crazier here. Like back in the South where my parents live, like it wasn't that crazy, I guess. But in Europe, it was really intense.
Yeah, it was like the Netherlands was pretty shut down too.
Yeah. But anyway, it was in Belgium for 5 years, and I was working a 9-to-5, worked for a financial tech company there, doing business development, and really enjoyed that. But I was coaching on the side, doing the national team. And my wife, my friend at the time, she didn't know anything about American football, as they all call it. Like, had no idea. Coming from Brazil, she just moved to Belgium a month before I did. Didn't know anything about American football. And so when I told her I coach American football, she's like, "Oh, I know that's like a thing that exists in America." And we were hosting the Netherlands actually in a friendly game, and I was like, "Oh, you should come like check it out, like see me in my element kind of thing."
Yeah.
And we had a pretty historic. We had never beat the Netherlands before. We had a pretty historic game. It was on our home turf, and we beat them, and it was a crazy game, and it was cool. And afterwards, she was like, "Oh my gosh, you're born to do that.
Wow.
Like you need to be a coach."
Yeah.
And it was a really validating moment for me, but I also had to kind of caution her. I was like, well, listen, if we end up going back to States one day, like, and if you're a coach's wife, like that's like that's a calling too.
Yeah.
Like being a high school football coach is such a family decision. It's like, it's not me. It's like, you got to be on board with this too, because that's like, I'm going to spend more time with other people's kids than like our kids, but it's like, that's how
At
it is.
times, no, for sure.
And so I had to kind of say like, hey, are you sure like you'd want to sign up for this? And she was just like so compelled that like, no, I've seen you coach one time and I know like you need to be doing that full time. And so that led to an opportunity in Tennessee. I was at a boarding school, a really amazing place called Baylor School in Chattanooga, Tennessee. and I lived on campus there in the dorms, was a dorm parent, whole nother world. Obviously you've experienced that world, Dustin, but it was a really exciting time in my life, and we didn't have kids, and we were working all the time, as the life is in boarding schools. You're just taking kids to places and monitoring them and working super hard, and you're coaching sports. And so I was there for a couple of years, and we had a lot of success football. I was an assistant coach there, and we had a lot of really, really great players. And we won a state championship my last year there. And so to make the leap to Monte Vista, we were in a have you guys ever been in a tiny home?
Yeah, we had friends up here on the hilltop, like by Monte Vista, family of 7 that lived in a tiny home.
7? Oh, wow.
5 kids and 2 adults. It was crazy.
Have you been in a tiny home?
No.
I had never been in a tiny home.
Tiny home, yeah, right?
Like, yeah. So like a little, so it was kind of a cool thing, but we went to Florida Christmas break, and we were in a tiny home, just us and our dog, and we never been in a tiny home. Anyway, it was cool. It's what it is.
You guys lived in one?
No, just for the Christmas break.
Oh, for the Christmas.
And
I thought, like, you saying a Thai home? I'm like, I've been in a tiny home. I haven't been in a Thai home. I got some Thai friends, but I don't think I've ever been in a Thai home.
Yeah, but it was in that tiny home in this Christmas break. Randomly, my wife is on the computer, and she's like, "Hey, you want to be a head football coach one day, right? Like high school?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not like in a rush to. I mean, I want to go make sure it's the right place and all that. But yeah, I mean, I think I want to." She's like, "Okay." So without my knowing, she goes on Google, and she Googles head football coach job, Christian school, California, because she always lived in California, being Brazilian, coastal.
Yeah, the beach, yeah, for sure.
And she finds somehow the job opening that had just been posted here. And I never heard of Monte Vista Christian School. I never, been here. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, you should apply." And I'm like, that sounds so crazy. Like, coming from Tennessee, like Santa Cruz, California, like I don't know anyone there. She's like, "Just apply." And as you guys probably know, like it's not every day you apply for a job on the other side of the country with no connections at all.
Yeah.
And it works out. It's just like, So I kind of flippantly threw my name in the hat. And I was like, well, I'll see, and that led to a Zoom call with Matt Coleman, your predecessor, our previous AD, which led to another Zoom call with Susie Swing and another one with Nikki Daniels, and led to us coming out here on a visit. And I remember when we got here, Matt Coleman, he was like, "Hey, I just want you to know, like, when you step on campus for the first time, you're going to feel God on this campus."
Wow.
And I remember kind of thinking like, yeah, okay, that sounds great. Yeah, I'm sure it's a Christian school. Yeah, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
But man, he was right. I remember like walking down Main Street, that's what I call it, this little road here on campus, and just kind of being like, man, this is a different place. And so going back to the call, we just felt compelled, like this is where we felt God has called us. And we didn't really know what it was going to turn into when we kind of interviewed here, but we felt God's presence here so fervently. And we were just like, man, this is the place we think God is bringing us. And so we took the leap, and we came out here 2023, I guess it would have been. And this is our 3rd year here, and we love it.
It's awesome. Yeah, I guess I should include some of that stuff in the end. I'm like, I didn't say you've been here 3 years. I did my job as any journalistic person should do, and I did not look up any of your records, so I have no idea what your record is since you've been here. I have no idea what your record was finishing this year or your entire tenure here, but I know that you put God first. But that's a cool story, because I feel like sometimes we can, like, should we seek out the Lord's will? Absolutely. Should we pray about big decisions and stuff? Yes, but like sometimes we over spiritualize, and like he can work just in those simple humanly desires. Like your wife wanted to be near the beach, and she's like, right? Yeah. Like, and it's like he can see the eternal, we can see the temporary, right? So like we don't do well when we try to see the eternal and make these decisions based on huge things outside of our ability to see, right? Out in the future. And so it's like we make these choices or decisions on little things like that, and God is like, boom, I'm in it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? Was like that experience, I guess, in your seeking the Lord or walk with the Lord in coming here, other than showing up and feeling his presence on this campus?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a lot of prayer, and that's something I've learned as I've gotten more mature in my faith and my walk with the Lord, is to bathe things in prayer. And that's something you hear as Christians say all the time. I pray over it and all that, but that's become a reality in my own life. I know D.L. Moody, he has this great quote. He says, when I pray, I talk to God, and when I read my Bible, God talks to me. And so we really wanted to not just pray, but also find things in Scripture and know that God will kind of, He's already revealed a lot of things to us via His Word, and so we can just kind of look to what He's already said, and we can find things from that. And so we just try to bait the thing in prayer and lean on Scripture and find assurance there, and everything just was really pointing towards coming here. And it's been a great choice, and we love being here, and it's lived up to the hype so far for sure. We love it.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. We talk about seek first the king. Yeah, as far as what He's revealed to us, what He has already revealed to us, like you and I have talked about this, seek first the kingdom and all these things will be added, right? And it's like, so that's an easy one. So if I'm moving to California or Tennessee or something, and I know I'm doing it just for monetary reasons, and I know like God has not called me to live like that. I might work for other people. It might even work for other believers, but like if He has not called me to live like that, He says seek first the kingdom. But I'm like, well, I'm seeking first the practical and then throwing some kingdom in there at the end. Then it's like, that's something you don't have to like agonize over His will on that one. Like, what do you say about this, God? He's like, well, I say seek first the kingdom and all these things will be added, right?
Yeah.
So
and it's okay to chase after the desires of your own heart. I mean, I think if you feel like you're really pursuing righteousness and holiness, and like you said in Matthew 6:33, like that verse, like if you're really pursuing that and you feel like you're in tune with the Lord and you chase after your dreams and desires, I think God will do one of two things. He will grant you those dreams and desires, or He'll change them.
Yeah.
It's something else.
Serious.
And so, it was what we wanted to come here. We felt, the desire to be here, and we, prayed about it and read God's Word, and he granted that to us. And so, yeah, it's not always that easy and that crystal clear, but
Totally.
But it was coming here. Totally.
Yeah, totally.
So what do you like? I mean, I love that. Like He'll either grant it for you or He'll change it. Talk to me just a little bit, or what I'm curious about is like when you're coaching and you're dealing with your players, you set out, I mean, everyone sets out with kind of similar goals for a season, wanting to be champions,
Yeah.
Through the course of a season, how do you kind of approach that with your players when those goals change and that kind of thing? Yeah.
Well, I'll say this to you guys, and if any football families listen to this, they'll probably get tired of hearing me say stuff like this, but our core values, every coach has like, here's like the 3 things we're going to build our team about or whatever.
Yeah.
For me, it comes from 1 Peter 2:17, which says, honor everyone, love the brotherhood, fear God. So those are like on our shirts. Those are like things we talk about like daily. And so for me, what does a successful season look like? Obviously, yeah, you want to hold the trophy at the end of the year, and like that material thing, like that is important. There's a scoreboard for a reason, and they keep scoring. You want to be on the right side of the scoreboard. But I think for me, what would be successful for us is that if our kids understand how to honor people around them and show respect to all people, because when you're playing a football game, like there's a ref might make a bad call, or someone on their team might say something you didn't like, or a coach might call a play that you wouldn't have called or whatever, or a parent say something. And, we don't always feel like we want to honor that person in that moment. But, as Christians, we are called to honor everyone because of our obedience to Christ. And so honor everyone is important. Love the brother, we talk about all the time. That's probably our favorite one. That's such a football thing, like love the brotherhood and protect the brotherhood. I know in John 13, Jesus says that the world around us would know we are His disciples by the love we have for one another. And I really desperately want our football team to embody that people watch the way we play and forget scheme, forget, X's and O's and plays, but they watch the way we play and say, man, that seems like a group of guys that really cares about each other. And then fear God. Fear God is such an interesting phrase used so often in the Bible. And I think sometimes people hear fear God and they're like, oh, is this like some shrinking terror that God is like Zeus and He'll like strike me with a, bolt if I, do something bad. But I think fear God is more like a healthy respect for God's sovereignty. And so those are things we talk about a lot. And this was really validated. And to kind of bring this full circle, in our last game this season, we're playing Watsonville. So crosstown game, crazy game, by the way. We lost 42-41. It was
great game.
Crazy game. The vibes out there are really unique because it was like super foggy. I'd never really been in a game like that. It was like, I couldn't even hardly see out there at times. It was really interesting. But a great game from Watsonville too. So they won 42-41. But I remember at halftime, something that's never happened before. At halftime, we go back in our back end zone or whatever, and we're kind of just talking to guys and kind of waiting. until it's time to go back out there. And one of the refs comes over to us, and a ref approaches and he says, "Hey, I just want you to know I worked your 7-on-7 that you guys host in the summer. We had this thing every year called the Hustle and Hills 7-on-7 tournament." And he's like, "Hey, I reffed that tournament, and seeing you guys tonight and seeing where you were in the summer and kind of where you've grown and how you've kind of come along from there has been really cool. I think you guys are doing something right." He's like, "But the thing that is so cool and why I want to come talk to you about this is that I've seen players tonight in the first half of this game, your players, that other guys on the team will say something, they don't bark back, but they're always talking to each other like, 'Hey man, I love you,' and 'Oh, let's do this together,' and blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "Man, that's just like, that's not normal." And that was just such a cool, like, ultimate validation from some outside third party, like a ref who like he doesn't gain anything from saying that, but I never really experienced that before. And that was validating for me as a coach to know, like, man, we really are, at least in some ways, loving the brotherhood well, where it's embodied by the way we play, and people actually see and be like, "Man, you guys are different," you know? And I know, Dustin, you talk about this, like, we want to be the city on the hill. We want to be different. We want to be distinctly different from everybody we play. You know, we're not, you know, Monte Vista Academy or Monte Vista Prep, you know, we're Monte Vista Christian School. And so we need to be different. And so to go back to the question, like, that's success for me is those three things. Are we growing in those areas? If the answer is yes, man, what a successful season.
So cool.
And you know, we went 4-6 this year, which was a bummer. Like, I hate to even say that out loud. We have like a losing record that like kills me, but I thought that there was some really great strides outside of just that. And that's one thing I'll point to is like, that was a win for sure.
Heck yeah. No, it's so cool. I was actually a couple questions as you're talking about that stuff. Like, you know, like I said, you're just somebody, it's clear that you put the Lord first. Like, how do you practically do that? What are some ways like that you actually put the Lord first? Because when I think of you, I think like follower of God first and then football coach second. That's, you know, like where other people, I'm like, you're a coach and you love God, but like, you know what I mean? And reading your bio when you first got hired here, it's funny because it listed your accolades as a coach, and then secondary it said, and strong in his faith is why we picked it. And I'm like, to me, like that should have been number one, like that's what you know. And then, oh, by the way, he's a great football coach. I mean, I get it; they want great coaches, and you know, but like for me, I'm like faith first, and then football second. But what's a way that you practically live that out, the day in, day out grind, practice games and stuff to really, as for yourself and for your players to see that you put them first? And then how in like a sport like football that's so physical, you know, it's like, let's be violent, right? But then also like, because you want to go out there and you want to be tough, and it's a warrior sport and it is a brotherhood. But so how do you go about that as a football coach, a Christian football coach, like teaching you guys to be aggressive and be warriors and like take the opponent's head off while at the same time be followers of Christ? So I guess that's two major questions. You can tackle them however you want.
Yeah, tackle them. Nice.
Hey, thank you. I didn't mean to do that, but thank you for catching that. Yeah.
So how I put God first is I have to put him first in the day. And I've just grown in this way where if I don't spend time with the Lord in the morning, I might not spend time with him that day. And I think I told you this in Bible study recently. Like if I don't read the Bible first thing in the morning, I know myself, as bad as it sounds, like I don't know that I'll get to it later in the day, because it's the craziness with life, and you have kids and you have work and football and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And so for me, I'm an early riser. I always have been. So I wake up, I usually go do some sort of exercise, and then I read my Bible. And that's how I start every day. And on the days that I don't do that, I can see such a stark contrast in my day. And like, it's just like you feel sluggish, or you feel off, or you feel like, you know, more impatient with your wife or whatever it is.
Yeah, big time.
And so it's just, you know, I know myself, like as an early riser, as someone who I feel like I'm at my best between like the early hours of the morning, like I need to give God my best. Like that time from, you know, 6 to 7 a.m. or whatever it is, like that's when like I'm really sharp, I feel like. Mm-hmm. And I want to give that time to the Lord, because I don't want to give my leftovers. I don't want to get like 9:30 at night and be like, all right, I guess I'll read my Bible for a few minutes before I go to bed, and like just to check the box, like, oh, I did it.
Yeah, Scripture says last fruits, right? Yeah,
right. Yeah. And so I want to try to, you know, spend time with him early, and I know that really like sets the tone for the day. And I've just seen so so often when I do that, my day is different. And when I don't do that, because I don't do it every, like there are days where just things happen in the morning, crying baby or whatever, you know, and you're just like, I didn't get to whatever. And like, you realize when I don't have that priority and I don't spend time with the Lord early first in the morning, my day is just different. And so that's been a really pivotal thing for me in my walk with the Lord is like, I got to do it early first before the sun comes up. And that sets the trajectory for the day. And when I don't do that, it's just the day's different.
Big time.
What was your second question? It was a big question too.
Oh, yes. Smash people and love God.
Yeah.
For your players.
Football is so interesting. Football is such a violent sport. And when you're telling Dustin about like playing hockey and stuff, it's like football, I guess similar because it's a contact sport. And it's just
to clear the air. I wasn't a fighter.
I'm joking. Well, just to clear the air. All right.
Anyone who played with me who's listening, there's probably nobody, but they'd be like, no.
No. I know. I'm just joking. I'm just glamorizing it, and that's.
But I appreciate it. It made me look cooler.
I got a story about fighting in Monte Vista after Spencer answers a question. Actually,
Yeah.
One of your old teammates calls in. They're like, Dustin wasn't a fighter.
Not a fighter.
He's like, I never said I was. I'm trying to tell I wasn't.
But football and like hockey, it's unique because in football you get to violently impose your will on somebody and it's legal and celebrated. Like and like we love having big guys around. Like big guys don't grow on trees around here. I wish they did. But we always like want bigger guys because it's just like, oh, you're like kind of a bigger guy and like, oh, that sport didn't want you or you couldn't really find a home in that sport. Like, man, we'll find a place for you here because you get to hit people and obviously there's a right way to do that within the rules of the game. But yeah, I know. I'll give a shout out to Nikki's alma mater, Wheaton College. I remember hearing their coach several years ago. It's a great Christian school, and the coach, Coach Swider, who's retired now, but he was a coach there for a long time. He said this thing one time that stuck with me. He was saying like, how he was kind of asked the same question, like as a Christian institution, how do you like play violently and all this stuff? And he was like, well, the way that we honor God is by smashing people in the mouth. And like doing that within the rules of the game.
Yeah.
And you want to give your best. And football is a contact sport. It's really a collision sport more than a contact sport. And like, it's a violent game. And you want to give God your best because, whether it's running fast or hitting hard, like you don't want to, again, give God the leftovers and be like, well, I'll kind of take it easy here. Like I want to hit someone as hard as I can, knowing that I'm giving my best for the glory of God. For an audience of one is something we talk about with our guys a lot, but it is hard, sometimes in football because it is intense. You want to, you think about things in the heat of the moment. You're like, oh, should I have said that or should I have played that way, or whatever. But yeah, there's really only one way to play, and that's hard and fast and physical, and that's how the sport is. So
heck yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. I love the Warriors. I'm a baseball guy, but I love. That's why I've talked to you about coaching with you, just because I love the Warrior mentality, the training, the grind, the brotherhood aspect of football. So
yeah.
I'm all about smashing people in the mouth and helping them back up, I guess.
Yeah. No, there's something authentic about it too, and the kind of, especially I think for a group of young men, like the male psyche of like having, because the truth is like we're called to be protectors, right? And we are called to kind of answer as warriors in certain ways if necessary, right?
Big time.
And so I think football is kind of like a simulated version of that is happening, within rules and in a somewhat safe environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of it. And I think that is, to me, it speaks very loudly and clearly to young men
Big
in a
point.
way where it gives you kind of a platform as a coach to teach them a lot about life.
Yeah.
Whether that's, how to treat their teammates, how to treat their opponents. Because, I mean, yeah, you're out there trying to smash them to bits, right?
Yeah.
But you're also there to pick them back up and win graciously, lose graciously, all those things. I think it's very easy for a group of young men to really understand it.
Big time. No, 100%. I mean, I think masculinity, I work in public schools now, and like I hear the phrase toxic masculinity a lot. And it's like, and it almost gets confused with calling all masculinity toxic. And I'm like, no, toxic masculinity is toxic. Toxic anything is toxic.
Yeah.
But masculinity, even in and of itself, is not. And you know what I mean? Like the world could use a little bit more masculinity, like the right kind of masculinity, men leading their families, men like being warriors in the truest sense, right? I think, and football is like a microcosm of that, you know?
Yeah. And the smash mouth part of football is like, it's such a byproduct. Like football is such a vehicle for instilling life skills into young men, because if you think about it, if you live to 80 years old, let's just, to make easy math, if you live to your 80 years old and we get these kids for 4 years, most of them, if you get them for 4 years, that's what, 5% of your life? Is my math right?
Not yet.
Let's go with 5%.
That's still 5%. That sounds right.
Nobody check the math as you're listening right now.
But you get these kids for 4 years, and in those 4 years, you are developing skills and instilling habits in them that will serve them the next 60 years of their life until they're 80 or whatever, however they live.
Yeah.
And so like this is why this is such a calling. It's like this age group, like I've coached like in the professional leagues, you know, in Europe, and it's like grown men, and that's cool. It's different. But like this age range is so, like, it's such a formative years for them. And you know, like, man, these are the years that, you know, you're going to look back. Do you guys watch The Office?
Yeah, for sure.
So, you know, in I think it's the last episode when Annie's like, I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days when you're actually in them.
Yeah.
And it's like, these are the good old days, guys. Like, you're in them right now. You know? And like, you're going to look back and be like, man, those are like, I think about that all the time. I remember at our banquet a couple weeks ago, I got really preachy about this at the end of the banquet. They're probably all ready to go home. And I started talking about like how football is just the best. And I was talking about this, and I was like, you know, there are guys, I graduated high school 15 years ago. There are guys that I played with that I haven't seen since May 28th or whenever, 2010 that I graduated. Like players that I was with for like 4 years, and I haven't seen them since in 15 years. In social media, you kind of keep up with people and stuff, but like I haven't like seen them in 15 years. But I know if Clay Carroll or Antoine Green or Brian Harper or Joey Jim-Fertone or whoever, if they call me right now and they're like, hey, bro, I know it's been a while, I need something, I would do anything for them.
Wow.
And I know they would do something the same for me.
This is
like,
high school ball?
High school football.
Wow.
And there's something different about these 4 years that you're in right now. Like, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
And I would say high school sports in general. Obviously, I'm prone to, like, I love football, but high school sports, but football in particular for me is just like, you know, these 4 years are the things that we talk about and build and develop. These 4 years are going to be with you forever.
Yeah.
Like the rest, next 60 years of life. Like, you're going to look back and be like, oh yeah, I learned that when I was 16, or like, oh, I remember my coach when I was in high school, my senior year, he talked about that. Like, it's such a powerful time of life. And so anyway, not to
why do you think that is? You think, because one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about is, and I think every time I get in front of parents, I end up talking about this, but it's something
as all the parents roll their eyes, I'll hear.
Yeah, I know, but I talked to the kids in chapel about this too. So yeah, everyone's rolling their eyes. But,
he's used to the eye roll. Doesn't even have teenagers yet, but you work with teenagers, so. But
it's like the identity piece for me. You know, it is such a big part of, you were talking about this, like they're in such a formative year, you know, those 4 years they're here, they're so formative for them. And I think part of the reason why is because they're still questioning, like, they're asking themselves, like, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons why football's so great is because it's like, you're one of us. You're one of us. In football, it's like, dude, sometimes you're getting knocked around, you know, you're getting put in your place a lot, and then sometimes you're the enforcer, but sometimes you're the one who's, you know, laying on the ground after getting hit. And so it's like, I just feel like, you know, maybe you can talk to a little bit about that process of them finding their identity, and ultimately I think the goal for us is like, we're pointing them to Christ that whole time. Like, hey, like if you can actually believe that you're a son, right? Son of the living God, right? If you can really believe that and let that sink into what you believe about yourself, then there's all this freedom that comes, you know, and because I think a lot of our kids and just kids in general during these formative years, they feel very like trapped into what they're supposed to be, or who asking that question of who am I? You know?
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to identity too, and I totally have struggled with this when I was in high school, even when I was playing college. It's just like it becomes a job, and it encompasses so much of your 24 hours of the day, where it's hard not to be like like, oh, so tell me yourself, oh, I play football. That's like the first thing you might say. Like, and any of our kids will probably say like, oh, so what do you like to do? Or what are your hobbies? Like, oh, I play basketball. I play baseball. It's like, it's just, that's what we do. Like, that's who we are. We kind of associate them the same. But, you know, for football especially, it's not a sport like golf where you can play for a long time, or tennis you can play for a long time. Like football, just the nature of the game, like it's going to end sooner than later for most people, right? If you play into your 20s, you're in the, you know, top 1%, whatever. Like it's not normal to play football, full on tackle football, like into your 20s. And so if you're so wrapped up in the fact that like, oh, I'm a football player, the game is going to end soon for you. And I know seniors on senior night, every year it's so emotional because for most of our seniors in any school, when they walk off the field their senior night and they take off their helmet, they take off their shoulder pads, for most of them, they'll never put it back on again, you know? And it's just like, if my identity is being a football player and this is it, like, now what? Who am I? If I was so wrapped up in that. And so, you know, the Bible, you know, gives Christians such incredible titles. Like we're called saints, we're called, you know, beloved, we're adopted, like we're all these titles. So why would I want to get wrapped up in like, oh, I play football? It's like, oh, it's cool, but you know, that can't be like what you do is not who you are, or what the sport you play is not who you are. And I know I've dealt with that too. Even now, I mean, people say, oh, tell me yourself, I coach football. Yeah. It's easy to just like jump into like your profession. Like, oh yeah, I coach football. That's who I am. I'm a coach. All right, oh, football. What do I do? Oh, football, watch football, play football, coach football, talk about football.
Yeah.
My wife, if she's listening, she's rolling her eyes because she's like, yeah, football is a big part of it. But yeah, you have to find your identity and your worth somewhere else. And it is easy to point to the Bible and Jesus and God and all the right answers here. But it's the truth, because if you don't, like, what do you cling to when that game fades away? Because it is going to at some point, and the nature of the game is violent. So when you end it, if your identity is in that, like who you have that identity crisis, like, who am I?
I think it also matters, like, while you're still playing a lot too. Like I watch a ton of high school sports, as in Lucky Director would.
You have to. I hope you do.
Yeah. Part of the job, yeah. And, you know, I see more than ever performance anxiety on the field or in the court or whatever. Like, you see kind of, you know, I've kids really struggling with the weight of just playing in front of a crowd, or you know, being in a big moment and all eyes on you, and that kind of, or playing not to make a mistake, right? Instead of, like, I know in football, like, if you go into a hit and you're a little bit like tentative, like, that's when you get hurt, right? And those kinds of things. And so, you know, I wonder if a lot of that is because of the constant kind of, you know, feeling like they have to perform at a high level. You know, Monte Vista has a lot of high performing kids, you know, and feeling like, you know, failure is not okay. And I think a lot of that is tied up in that, in identity, right? Like, if I don't play well today, then the scout doesn't see me, then I don't go to college.
Right. As I say, yeah.
You know, like,
I mean, I'm not coaching here anymore, but I think the identity, I wouldn't even say it's so much identity. I think the performance anxiety comes more from now, like in this day and age, what can I get out of sports? And if I don't, right? Like, it's like, rather than just having it be about the experience and the day in, day out grind and the right and the discipline and all these things that sports gives you, it's like, what could this possibly do for me? Where could it take me? And now if I don't perform, it's like somehow going to alter the trajectory of my life or something, versus like, this is just part of what I do, right? Like, my kids are going to play sports no matter what. Like, and it's not like as a vehicle to like open doors for the future. It's like, it's all the stuff that it's going to teach them. Mm-hmm. But I think there's so much like the, you know, the youth sports industry now, like we're learning, it's like a multi-billion-dollar business. And it's like, so people are using this as their stepping stone for life, or they think that they are. Yep. And so now if I don't perform, my entire life plan is screwed, right? Versus like, this was never about like getting you somewhere. It's just about the grind. It's about the experience and the discipline and all those, the things, like you said, that those 4 years, like the military, like is going to teach you, right? Like, people in the military still make their bed first thing when they get up, like 20 years after being out of the military, and they learn that in that time there. Yeah.
And the higher up you go in level, the more intense that become. Like, if you play in college or play, you know, beyond that, it's like, man, if I mess up on this play, they'll pull me. They'll put in somebody else. You know, it's just like that is a very real thing, the performance anxiety. I remember I had a kid this season who, by the grace of God, you know, he gave his life to Christ earlier in the season. And I remember second or third game, before the game, he was talking to one of his other friends on the team who's a Christian, and they were reading the Bible before. It was such a cool thing. This is like not a normal thing, but they were reading the Bible before a game in a visiting locker room. And he came up to me, and this kid who like he became a Christian recently. He doesn't really know the Bible, and so he doesn't even like know where to start. And he's like, "Coach, do you have like I'm kind of nervous. Like, do you have like a verse for me as we go in this game?" And I was kind of like,
wow.
Man, I don't know, like the whole thing, you know, I don't know. And the one thing that came to mind, which I don't know if this is the best verse to give him, but the thing that just approached my mind was Psalm 19:14. You know, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be pleasing to you, my Lord, my rock and my redeemer. And so I said, I was like, I don't know if this is a good verse for you to hear right now, but it was about this kind of coming at it from a performance anxiety angle of, man, I want the things that I say out there, because the football game can get intense and guys say things and words are flying. And it's like, I hope and I pray that the things that I say and the things that are in my heart are pleasing to you, God. Like that's the important thing. So forget what, like, you know, dad's thinking in the stands, or what my girlfriend over there is telling her friends, or what grandma and grandpa are up there and what they're thinking or whatever. It's just like, may the words of my mouth and the meditations, like what's going on in my heart, like I want those things to be pleasing to you, my rock and my redeemer, like my everything, God. And so that's what I gave him. And it was cool when I shared that with him. I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, how I coach too, man. I really need to make sure, because like when I'm talking to the refs or the kids, like the things that I say, I want them to honor God. And the things that I don't say, but they're in my heart, I want those things to be honoring to God too.
For sure. So we can do, I mean, as coaches, we can even like body language, like an eye roll or like a shoulder. When somebody messes up, you're like, right?
Yeah.
Like even that, right? Like, sorry.
Body language never whispers, it only screams. And it saves your mental toughness and maturity, or mental non-toughness or immaturity. Body language is tough. Yeah, that's a sticking point for me. I won't even go down that rabbit hole right now. But that is very true. It's like,
hey, Jones, let's go body language. And you're like,
yeah, they get
shaking your head as you're doing it, like telling him about his body language as you're like,
yeah.
This is not being filmed. I'm shaking my head for those of you.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, it's a great verse. I was actually thinking about, you remember Keithley used to always do Proverbs 21:31. A horse is prepared for the battle, but the victory rests in the Lord.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing. It's like, you know, focus on the process. You're the horse. I guess you're the Mustang.
Right. Yeah.
You're the workhorse.
You're the horse. You're working for something. But at the end of the day, like, God's in control of this, you know. And I think our kids, like, the more they hear those type of, you know, if you're an athlete out there listening, like, focus on the process and glorifying God in the way you work, and then just let the games be fun.
Heck yeah.
Let them be you going out there and doing it for Him, and
heck yeah,
happen. You know,
let's do that. So speaking of that, if you're an athlete listening, let's maybe like hear the last part of the show, give some shout outs to some players on your team, Spencer. Well, I'm going to do a rapid fire. I'm going from the hip right here, but I just wanted to say first, like, your wife eye rolling when you talk about football, it's not just a coach's thing. Cause like I was trying to explain The Blind Side to Mirta the other day. We were watching the Eagles play, and I'm like rewinding the film, like just trying to explain to her what The Blind Side means when somebody's coming from behind the quarter. And I was like on the Z and she's back at A. She's like, I don't even know who has the ball right now. What do you say?
Yeah. And I don't care.
I'm like, because this dude's about to blindside the quarterback. And she's like, who has the ball? And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, back it up. And I'm like, the Eagles have the ball, because there's two teams. She couldn't even tell which team had the ball.
The green team.
It's the green team. They have the ball. This dude, he's called the quarterback. I explained like because he's a quarter of the way back behind the other guy. Is like, this actually comes from a long time ago. And then the dude behind him was the halfback. And, you know, like,
yeah.
So I was explaining that stuff to her. I thought it was funny. But oh yeah. So, and then the fight thing. Before I ask you these questions about the players, the first time I was ever subbing here at Monte Vista before I was hired here full time, I was doing a little bit of boxing. I was like doing some sparring, some training, not a lot, but I was sparring at a gym here in Watsonville, and I sparred the night before I was subbing here in a high school classroom, and I got caught with a good one. I had like a little shiner, not a full on black eye, but I had a good shiner. So I'm showing up here like my first or second time ever subbing with a black guy.
The night before your first day, you said?
Yeah, I'm sparring at the gym the night before, and I'm and so I come not when I got hired full time. I'm subbing, but I show up as a sub with a black guy. I got like my tie on and stuff, but I got a black guy. Like, what's this dude doing moonlighting? And then I walk into the first class here at the high school. I think it's upstairs here in the upper gym. Like, and I walk into the class, and one of the kids I see in the class, I'm like, dude, what's up? It was a brother, the kid I was sparring the night before. So it was like two brothers that were always sparring at the gym. So like this kid was a senior. He was like an 18-year-old senior. I was sparring his brother who was only like 18 or 19 also. So I show up for my first day ever here, like, and one of the kids in my class was like, oh yeah, my teacher was basically trading blows with my
Show up with
my brother last night. Exactly.
I had to like stop playing pickup hockey in New York because people out there are so stressed out that like there's just like fighting all the time. These older men like just going after each other, and I was like, I can't go to work tomorrow with a black eye, so yeah, I'm just gonna call it quits here.
Yeah, I work with young people and tell them about like aggression is not the answer.
Yeah.
All right, so players, I was just thinking, I don't know, I'm trying to, so the baseball team here, Don Keithley, the baseball coach, used to do like these awards at the end of every year. So I don't know, I'm trying to think of categories here to fire off, or maybe you did awards, but 15 seconds each, because these guys might be listening. You can give them a shout out. Let's go through. Who would you say is your? We'll start with your down and out. You're behind. Like who's the person that you obviously love all your guys, and coaches can't have favorites and all that. But who's the dude you're like I trust this person in this moment, like
like on the field in a game,
on the field
and make a play
for sure. They got that mentality. Like they got ice water in their veins, Yeah. Or maybe you got a few of them. Maybe you got a few.
Yeah, and so I'll, in fact, just to make sure I don't butcher some of these, the actual award winners.
Okay, give me the award winners, but I might ask you some funny ones too. So you might not have an award for it. But.
Yeah, well, so to me, that's kind of like our
Heart of a Mustang.
Yeah, our Heart of a Mustang, or even our Mustang Award, which is like our MVP.
Yeah.
What can I find? Well, I kind of know him hard anyway. But our MVP was Boston Ash, and he mostly receiver for us, but he had some really dominant games this year. And even everyone we played, I mean, their whole scheme was we got to find a way to stop that guy, and he would still find ways to dominate games. Wow. And he was just he's just a great player. Made me look like a better coach than I am sometimes because people would be like, "Oh, that's a great call," and I'm like, "The call would just throw it to Boston," and then he would do Boston things, and he, "Oh, what a great call!" That's cool. So he's a guy for sure.
Yeah. Anybody else? You got other ones in there? What is that? You guys just have the MVP?
Yeah. So we have. So the way we do awards is we have offensive MVP, defensive MVP, special teams MVP, lineman of the year, heart of a Mustang, most Christ-like.
Nice.
And the overall MVP. That's a lot of awards, but yeah, that's kind of how we break it down.
You got them on the phone. You want to fire them off, or you don't have it right there?
I can't. I thought I had a picture, but I know them.
So
our Christ-like, which to me really is like the MVP. That's like the award. We had a few guys that were really worthy of getting that one, which is a good problem to have. But the one we went with was Ben Hall, who's a junior. We have a weekly Bible study as a team that's optional but encouraged for the kids. And me and Jared Perini, assistant coach, we started this a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And this year we kind of handed it off to Ben. He kind of wanted to take a more leadership role, and we were like, totally. Like
you just one of your players?
Yeah,
that's
he's
cool.
A junior, and we're like, dude, you do the Bible. We'll just show up and support. Like it's probably better if it's a player led thing, and they hear enough from us every day on the field as coaches anyway. And so he led that and just did such a great job and has such a great heart for the Lord. And he's a spiritual leader for guys younger and older than him. So he's awesome. I love Ben Hall. Offensive MVP was Evan Vesey, our junior quarterback. He threw for a bunch of yards. He did a great job. Defensive MVP was James Hanslick. Fun fact about James Hanslick is he has started 38 consecutive games at the varsity level, which is a Monte Vista record, which is kind of insane. So, So as a freshman on varsity, he was playing at right tackle. First 2 games he didn't start, and then he's started ever since. But he was our defensive MVP just because he really set the edge and kind of held his own on defensive line, and he did a great job. Special teams was Igor Moskalenko, one of our Ukrainian boarding students. He blocked a bunch of kicks and punts, and we just, an animal. He's a man among boys. He's the guy like you wanted to get off the bus first. If he walks in, you're like, oh crap. He's like,
Yeah.
And he starts speaking. He's got a nice Ukrainian accent.
Yeah.
Dang, who's this guy? So he was an enforcer for sure on special teams.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Lineman of the year was Jacob Wong. He was a 2-time first team all-league guy, left tackle. He was a great player. Yep. Love Wong. We'll miss him. And what am I missing? Heart of a Mustang was Jordan Ramirez, who was a junior. He was kind of our Swiss Army knife. He started on offense, defense, returner. I mean, he did everything.
Yeah.
He was kind of banged up a lot this year, and he never came off the field, played through pain. And he'll step up even more next year once Boston leaves. He's kind of like our guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are our quick shout out guys.
That's cool. Do you have like a most improved type of guy? Like, do you give that out, or can you think of somebody on like right now? You're like that person.
Yeah. Well, we don't have that award, but one that I think about is, and I'm thinking really just varsity right now. We have the same award for JV, but Johnny Finney. So Johnny Finney at the banquet, what I said about him was like he's the guy that, like, I hope my daughter grows up and finds a guy like him, and like as a father of like a girl, it's just like that's the highest compliment you can pay to someone is like, yeah, I don't know who my daughter, Lord willing, is going to date and maybe marry one day, but like I'm not ready for that. She's one, I have a lot of ways to go, but like
you do.
But it's crazy to think about. But I'm like, man, if she can find a Johnny Finney though, like that's the guy. So I love Johnny Finney. Great family. Mom sits on our board here. Like they're just a Montevista family through and through.
That's cool.
He's the youngest of I think 3. They all went here. But the thing about him is like he was on JV the past couple years. He was like a good JV player, but he was always like, oh, Johnny Finney's a great kid. Works hard. Does all the right things. Really respectful. And then this year, all that was still true, but like. He became like a force. Like he was like, I think our 3rd leading receiver, had like some really big plays for us.
I was going to say, he had some of the biggest
crazy.
I remember that St. Francis catch.
Had a great, really great catch.
A couple of awesome runs after catch.
Totally.
Touchdowns and stuff.
Yeah. And so he kind of went from just like a good player, great kid to like good player, great kid, but like, oh my gosh, he's a guy for us now.
Great player, great kid.
Totally.
Yeah. Plays 3 sports.
Yeah, that's
he does. He's probably at soccer right now, whatever.
Soccer,
yeah. Love Johnny.
That's cool. Well, at least your athletic director's watching games. He recalls specific catches.
There you go.
You're there. I mean, you're there. You're working and stuff. You get to watch a play every now and then.
There's some. I mean, Jordan and Boston, they all had some crazy receptions this year. We throw the ball a lot.
Right. Yeah.
Just unbelievable catches. Like
highlight
reels.
Yeah.
So
makes it fun.
I know you can't get everybody in there, but maybe 3 guys that you're excited about next year. 3 to 5. You're like. Maybe they're on JV this year or they're on varsity, but they've been improving, and you're like, I'm looking forward to seeing what they develop into next year.
I'll give some young guys a shout out. So guys that are on JV now that will probably take that leap to varsity next year. A guy I think about is James Tipton. So he's one of the better athletes probably in our school. He's a sophomore now, big basketball kid. Dad went here, was a big basketball player here. He'll be likely starting receiver for us next year on varsity, and he's a stud. We had a 7-on-7 tournament this summer. There was a JV tournament. And he was like the MVP. There was like probably 20 schools there, and he was like the best player at the tournament. Like he's going to be he's the real deal. Great kid, works really hard. Another guy is Blaise Bourgeon. He's an offensive lineman. He'll probably have to play a lot next year on varsity. He's just like never whines, never complains, never comes off the field. He's never hurt. He just always gets after it, plays with aggression. And then one more would be Brandon Hagan. He was the Heart of a Mustang award winner for JV this year. Another guy who's kind of just banged up, played through some injuries, but is like the ultimate, like consummate, like teammate, battler, like the guy you want to go to war with is like Brandon Hagan, So cool. So we'll rely on those guys more next year, and they've done a great job this year on JV.
Heck yeah, it's awesome. Got anything or what? I think that's
great.
It's been awesome, totally.
In an hour
for sure. Yeah, dude, that was awesome. Thank you for sharing, Spencer. I was thinking too. You were saying earlier that your wife was, you told her it's a responsibility. It's like a big deal when you marry an American football coach because what it takes, but you should have also told her it's an honor because she gets to hang out with the coolest dude ever. Be like, babe, it's a big deal in both ways. I'm a big deal.
Right, yeah. But that wouldn't fly in my home. Hey, honey, I'm a big deal.
I'm a big deal.
Yeah.
You should be honored you married me. Yeah. No, I'm joking, but no, really though, it's been an honor to have you on here, and it's been cool to hear. I mean, I already know a lot of this stuff, but it's been cool to hear more, and I hope the Mustang family gets to listen to this and like hear a little bit more about who you are and your heart for the Lord, for football, and coaching in California too, where it's like, I know that's been an adjustment for you too, where people come from like Georgia, like it's football and it's only football, and here it's like, well, football is like one of 5 things I like to do. I also want to go surf with my friends.
Right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I know that's been an adjustment, but I know that you've got guys to buy in and people are buying in too. So thank you, dude, for being on the show, aka just three guys talking.
Yeah, well, thanks. I'm honored to be on here because you've had some like absolute titans in here, like Ron, like the godfather of Monte Vista football. Jesse West is like the spiritual, like, pillar of our campus.
Yeah.
You'll have Eric Beckman, who's, I'm glad I'm not going after him because he's the man. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
For sure, man.
Thanks, Spencer. All right.